Hi, gang. Pastor Tom here again. Just sitting in my office, going over some scripture. This is sort of part two of what I shared with you the other day, and I want to share it with you in a very practical sense. We talked about growing in love. I want to ask you a quick question right now. How many of you are in a house where you're being annoyed by somebody? There's annoyances in the house, and it ain't you. Well, I know how that goes for all of us. I'm annoying to somebody, somebody's annoying to me. Hey, we're living on top of each other. Maybe it's a roommate to roommate or spouse to spouse even. Maybe your kids are bugging you or you're bugging your kids. But there's this tendency we have to get annoyed with one another when we're living in the house. And I want to share with you how, as I talked about love the last time, we can show that kind of love in a really, really practical way. I remember a trip I was on with my wife and some students. We were back east touring Washington, D.C. and staying in a hotel and doing some really fun things back there as kids got to become a part of an event that took place about every 2 or 3 years back there. It was a really big youth rally. And one of the things that was happening on this particular trip was kids were complaining. We gathered them together and she said, hey, you guys are complaining a lot. There's a lot of, you're not following on the rules. You're not doing the things you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be kind to one another. You're not being kind to one another. You're supposed to help each other out. You're not helping each other out. And finally, one kid raised his hand and said, oh, you mean we're supposed to be doing what Christians are supposed to do? And the room kind of got quiet. And we realized, yeah, that's exactly what, when you're with other people and there's a chance that there can be some annoyance going on, you really need to be thinking about how to be the best Christian you can possibly be around those people, those that are closest to you. Do you ever think the disciples got annoyed with each other? Or that Jesus got annoyed with the disciples? I'm sure it happened as they traveled in close quarters. And I want to share with you some things that pertain to that, 4 rules that pertain to that idea. But first, I want to read to you from the book of Colossians. Listen to what it says. And these 4 rules are sort of predicated on these verses. This is Colossians 3, and out of chapter 3, verse 13 and 14, it says this. Bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other, as the Lord has forgiven you, so also you must forgive. And above all these things, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. What a great passage to explain our attitude when we're trying to express perfect Christian love to one another. So I want to share with you 4 things that I think are simple, and I bet you've heard them before, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. The first one is use your indoor voice. Practical way to show love people around your house is just be polite and use manners, and primarily using that indoor voice really, really helps a lot. And I hope your whole family might be watching this so that the little ones can hear me say, hey, Pastor Tom says, use your indoor voice. The second thing is make sure that you share your toys. Share with people around you. It's so easy when you're living on top of each other to one person grab at something that somebody else wants and, hey, where did you do with this and how come I can't find it? And pretty soon we're struggling with each other, and we really don't need to be if we're just willing to share our toys. Third thing is clean your mess. There's nothing worse than having to trample over somebody else's mess. So if you're a neat freak and you're living with somebody that's really difficult because they're sloppy, then you know what I'm talking about. And if you're the sloppy one, hey, pick it up. It's yours. Take care of it. Get it out of the way. Don't leave a mess for the next guy to have to clean up. So clean up your mess. And then finally, the last one is simply this. Take a good nap. Take care of yourself. Take good care of yourself. Now let's go over this again real quick. Use your indoor voice. You've got to have the kind of attitude that says, I'm going to be polite to everybody around me. In my house, we have 3 people working in video conferencing all day long. And we can hear right through the walls if we're not careful. So we've got to do it in such a way that we don't bug each other. My daughter texted me. I was in the living room watching television. She was in her room in a prayer meeting via computer. And she said, hey, we're praying. Could you turn the TV down? It's just a matter of just being polite and using your indoor voice and indoor noises, I should say. The second thing is that idea of sharing your toys. Hey, share everything you have. Share with one another. Practice the early church disciple way of living. Share everything. Don't take the last one of anything. That's the golden rule, right? If there's something left and there's only one left, don't take that last thing. Let somebody else have it. Share. It'll make their day. The third thing is simple. That is just the idea of cleaning up your mess. I mean, who wants to live in a messy place? If you clean up your mess, and then I clean up my mess, it'll make life so much easier. And when you don't live in a mess, your mind thinks better. You're able to process things better. It's just simpler not to live in a mess. And lastly, take a good nap. I've said it many times before. Self-care is not selfish care. Take good care of yourself. Breathe, right? Have something green to eat during the day. Take a walk if you can get out and get around your neighborhood without seeing anybody else. Enjoy the brief moments of sunshine that we're getting. But take care of yourself. Take good care of yourself. And maybe part of that is just take a nap. We learned those 4 things in kindergarten. These are the simple lessons. My wife's a kindergarten teacher, and she shares those things with kids all the time. And those are the simple lessons that will get us through life. And there's a book written a long time ago called Everything I Needed to Know I Learned About in Kindergarten. And it's really, really true. I'm telling you right now, if you follow those 4 rules, you will be showing in a very practical way how to love people. And so I want to encourage you to love people by sharing those 4 rules with them and living by those 4 rules while you're living with them. Blessings today. I hope you survive it. Hey, do something good for somebody, would you? We'll see you soon.